Where I'm currently walking was once a thriving ancient woodland with a resilient and diverse canopy made up of dozens of different species of trees and shrubs. But about a decade ago, most of this woodland was cut down and harvested for timber, and since then the woodland has been fragmented, with these vast clearings around here dominated by invasive species, and other areas where the sun doesn't even reach the forest floor because of trees like rhododendron and cherry laurel that have just overtaken the canopy. But we're here to change that. In case this is your first time meeting us, here at the Wellstead our mission is to create a one-of-a-kind environment where people and nature are intimately entwined. And to do that we must start by restoring this landscape before we can integrate our own activities into this woodland in a more sustainable and harmonious way. My name is Brandon and welcome to episode 13 of the Wellstead. You can see that this area behind me here is still quite densely covered in a beautiful variety of different native broadleaf trees, mainly beech, birch and English oak. But this is the last remaining fragment of closed canopy woodland in this area. Now our property here is 9 acres, and if I were to guess I'd say at least 4 of those acres are ecologically fragmented, meaning we have these large clearings between patches of healthy woodland, which limits the dynamic interaction between species, both wildlife and floral. The oldest trees here are probably at least a few hundred years old, which classifies them as ancient veteran trees, and suggests that this area has been wooded for at least as old as the oldest tree is, meaning this counts as an ancient woodland. And presumably sometime after the Second World War, a lot of those deciduous hardwood trees were cut down to use for wood to help rebuild the country, and in their place were planted various different softwood conifer trees like Douglas firs, different pine trees and also different spruce trees as well. And while none of those trees are invasive like some of the others that have grown here since then, they do grow so tall and so rapidly that they can block a lot of light from hitting the forest floor and prevent native tree regeneration from occurring naturally. And due to this fragmentation, the woodland as a whole is left less resilient as different species aren't able to interact and share resources. And so you get issues like this, where we have several stands of ash trees, which in a more biodynamic environment would likely be more resilient against certain diseases, but left out here in the open, they have fallen to the ash dieback disease, and so most of these trees are either dead or dying and will need to come down if the woodland is going to have a fair shot at regenerating naturally. But with all that said, not all hope is lost. I mean, it's often said that nature operates on a completely different timescale than humans do, and so although we've seen very little natural regeneration in the last decade, that doesn't mean that the woodland isn't going to restore itself to a balanced ecological state one day. As the Chinese Taoist sage wrote in the Tao Te Ching, nature does not hurry and yet everything is accomplished. So eventually, if we were to just leave it, the woodland would eventually one day settle back into a harmonious ecological balance. But as long as we're here and we can see the issues, then we're going to do what we can to help speed up the process so that various different species can return, because England and the UK in general is one of the most nature depleted countries in the world. I mean, we look at our vast green countryside and think that that's natural beauty, and in a way it is, but a lot of our natural landscape was either clear cut or destroyed nearly 1,000 years ago. So as long as we are fortunate enough to be in this position to own an ancient woodland, then we are going to do everything we can to speed up the process, not only for the benefit of the environment and the wildlife that live in this local area, but also for the benefit of people who can come here, enjoy and study this forgotten landscape. But as I said, not all hope is lost. Some areas of the woodland are showing signs of natural regeneration. It's hard to see sometimes when these areas might be dominated by different invasive species, But there are pockets around this 9-acre woodland where native shrubs and trees are starting to regrow. And so as long as we can do the correct work to support that growth, then there's no reason why this woodland shouldn't restore to a more natural and interconnected state within the next 10 years. For example, where I am now, you can see the dense, healthy stand of woodland back there. And just off of that, we have this stand of birch trees that are all regenerating naturally from shrubs right up from our farm down there, which is great to see because it means that we can monitor the growth and also plant more trees down this slope in place of the ferns so that the whole area surrounding the farm has a healthier canopy and is more interconnected with the rest of the woodlands. And so look over here, we've got some young silver birch here, more silver birch over there. Look at this. How beautiful is that? This is quite a healthy silver birch tree, and so there's no doubt that this will survive. But now it's up to us to make sure that we support the rest of these young trees and shrubs around here so that they're given a fair shot to establish themselves and regrow, and in turn they will help other species regenerate in this area. And so what kind of work are we actually doing here to restore this woodland? Because restoring an entire woodland is, let's admit it, a bit of a pipe dream. So what is our actual goal for the land and our mission outline? Well, unfortunately, as contradictory as it may seem, woodland management does involve some forestry practice where you will have to inevitably remove some trees. Whether they are dead trees that are a danger to you while you're working here, or invasive trees like the rhododendrons and cherry laurel that I mentioned that suppress other native plant regeneration, an inevitable part of woodland management and ecological restoration does involve the sustainable removal of other undesirable species. But that's only phase one of our restoration plan. The first phase is all about removing those undesirable species like the invasive trees, the invasive flowers, and the humongous pine and conifer trees that are here that also suppress tree regeneration. And so while phase one might be all about restoration, phase two is about regeneration, where we then need to focus and prioritise bringing in those native tree species, planting them in the soil and allowing them to flourish. But in order to do that, we need your support. And so the next big mission on our agenda is to restore those areas of deforested woodland. But we're only a small channel and independent landowners, but we've got big dreams for this place. It's not just about restoring the woodland, although that is the first and most important priority, is to get the woodland back to a harmonious state. And so now that we're in the autumn, this is the prime season for tree planting. This area behind me here, you can see is just completely dominated by bracken and ferns and blackthorn. And that means it's very difficult to access for ecological restoration. So the best time to access it is in the winter when it's all suppressed. Allow me to demonstrate. I'll hand you back to past Brandon to explain just how overgrown this can get in the summertime. Thank you, future Brandon. So yeah, as you can see here, today is the 6th of June, and you can see that this clearing is completely overtaken by ferns. Now, ferns aren't an invasive species, but obviously we would prefer to have a canopy of trees here so that it just provides more biodiversity and habitats for insects and different birds. And you can see the trees that are here. They're in nice full bloom up there to just really restore this whole area. It would just provide more shade for the farm, which I know sounds sort of counterintuitive, but it does get very hot here where we're in a clearing. It's so humid in the summer months. And we would love to have these wild cherry and crab apple trees bordering the fence. Oh, and nice job on the fence, by the way, Brandon. I bet it looks really good. So yeah, back to you, future Brandon. Yeah, I haven't quite gotten around to doing that fence yet, but you can see just the difference that a few months make, and in another month from now this will be completely flat and we'll be able to access the soil so that we can open it all up for tree planting. So how can you support our work here? Well, in the description below and hopefully on the screen now, you will see a link to a fundraiser. As I said, the first and most important priority this season is to get some trees in the ground. We need this area to start regenerating naturally, and that will make other tasks in the future so much easier, because it means we won't constantly be fighting back against these invasive species here. So that's one way you can help us. You can go down into the description below and check out the fundraiser. Any donation really helps. But I don't want to just have to ask you for money as well. That's not what this video is about. I'm not asking you to send us all your money so that we can do what we want to do for our own fulfillment and completing our own goals, fulfilling our own dreams. But there are plenty of other ways that you can support the channel as well. It doesn't have to be through Patreon or the fundraiser. At the very least, if you like what we're doing here at the Wellstead and what our future plans are for our land, then please consider subscribing to the channel. We are still a new channel, we're finding our footing, but we've got loads of really great visions for the kind of content that we want to share with you as well. Hit like on every video that you watch as well. That really helps us get out to the algorithm so that more and more people see this kind of content and see this outdoors content, which I think is so valuable, and share it with others as well. If you know anyone who enjoys this kind of outdoorsy content, or ecology education, just nature videos, so you can really support us in any way. And as I said, if you enjoy this kind of content, then please hit like on our videos and share with your friends. And as I said, stay tuned on the channel, because there will be opportunities in the future for you guys to chip in more and really have an impact on the kind of work that we're doing here, and perhaps even one day come down here and see for yourselves this beautiful ancient woodland, because it's such a rare and endangered environment and ecosystem, not only in the UK but in the world today, that it's really, really worth protecting. And it's really something that touches you when you see it for yourself and you just experience the calm and the quiet and the wisdom really of this beautiful landscape. As I said, head to the description below to check out the fundraiser that we've got going on right now to fund the purchase of loads of different trees so that we can begin to get the rest of the woodland looking like this. And I hope to see you guys next time at the Wellstead. Thanks for watching everyone, take care.